maybe the G I am today, maybe the hustler I am today, the grinder, the baller, the gangster I am today, man. A lot of people got opinions and issues and problems with what they see coming from the South and who doing what in the South, man. But I'm gonna tell you like this, fuck you, dog. It's the South, nigga. We gonna be here, we been here and ain't going no motherfucking where. Take it how you like it, hate it or love it, ho. It's that.
Welcome into the Ville Since 86 podcast. I'm your gracious host, LJ Nez, also known as King Fiasco, also known as Mr. Slap, your favorite UK fan. It's April 1st. The time is 12:39, and I'm broadcasting live or recording live somewhere in the Ville. And as always, the Ville has something to say. Today is a special episode for us because it's our first episode ever that we have a guest. And our guest today will be beat writer for the Louisville Football and Louisville Women's Basketball team, Alexis Cubit. She is coming to us here in a second, and we will bring her on, but so thankful to have her on. But going to talk to her about how she got her start in journalism, how she eventually got to Louisville, some of the things she's learned covering sports, and some other fun stuff. So sit tight, get her in here in a minute. This is the Ville Since 86 podcast. All right, welcome back into the Ville Since 86 podcast. Our first ever guest here is Alexis Cubit. Did I get that right?
You did.
Yeah, Alexis Cubit. First of all, what we want to do before we get into anything is give her flowers because that's what we do on the show. We don't waste any time in giving flowers. So let me just read her extensive resume. And like I said before, I brought her on. If there's anything that I mess up, because the internet do be lying sometimes, hopefully she'll correct me, but Alexis is a Baylor graduate with a bachelor's degree in journalism, public relations, and new media. While there, she interned with various media, including ESPN Central Texas and Baylor Athletics. She was a sports writer for the Fairmount Sentinel in Fairmount, Minnesota, where she covered high school prep sports, including track and field, tennis, and softball. She has spent time as the editor at Plainview Herald in Texas, where she covered high school sports in Plainview, And in addition to Wayland Baptist University, she also spent 2 years as the prep sports writer and Texas Tech women's basketball beat writer for the Lubbock Avalanche Journal. And most recently, she has served as the Clemson sports writer for the Star newspaper in Columbia, South Carolina. And now she is here in the 502. Welcome in, Alexis Cubit. How are you doing today, man?
Hey, you got that.
Yeah.
I'm doing good. Appreciate you for having me on. But it's the state newspaper in Columbia, but Star State, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. And I'm actually from South Carolina. So when I saw that, I was like, oh, she's been in my old hood or whatever. But yeah, little town in South Carolina called Welford, population probably 500 at one time. I think it's up to 2,000 now. But you blink and you miss it. But here in Louisville with you. So we were just talking about the spring game, and I'm glad you're here because the wind out here in Louisville today is just insane.
Yeah.
And you just have you have that look on your face like, yeah, man, this is Louisville and this is what we go through every year. I'm not sure how long you've been in the city, but we'll get into that hopefully in the next few minutes. So I know I asked you before we were recording, but now that we are, I said, how was open practice? And you said,
yeah, so I felt like we got more of the second team and third team. Didn't see a whole lot of the first team. But I mean, from what I saw, there's some decent things to take away. A lot to kind of look at as far as receivers, just because that's a position that probably receiver and linebacker are two of the kind of the mysteries right now, just because they lost so much. So I definitely saw, some good things at both. I'm very interested to see how this new defensive structure works out for them, given their personnel. Because, I mean, it's one thing for a coach to have their schemes and have their players in here, but these are not the players technically that Jeff and his guys recruited. So this first year, I think is going to be interesting in seeing how they can kind of get everybody on the same page, essentially.
correct.
So,
Okay.
I mean, yeah, it was just nice to be out there. I've now transitioned from women's basketball to football. So, I mean, I guess it's spring-ish, spring adjacent right now. Still a little cold, but no, it's good.
Yeah, well, like I said, it's April 1st, so we're in our like 35th windstorm of the year, so that normally happens around Louisville. So it's apocalyptic for one. It might snow next week. You just never know with this city. It just basically depends on whatever it feels like doing. So I want to get into your background a little bit and learn more about you. And the first how I came to want to interview you is that as a Louisville fan, we have to know exactly who's covering our team because, as you know, we're crazy as hell about everything Louisville.
You
They're
said it,
our
not
pro
me.
team. Yeah, I mean, hey, they want to come at me, they can come at me. But I saw you. I'm like, well, we got to no disrespect to anybody at the Courier, and it's a good thing. There's a high turnover rate for your position for the Louisville beat writer. People that come here, they normally don't stay long, and they do a good job, and then they're gone in either a year, sometimes a few months. So I know you're not going to be here long. So while you're here, I just want to enjoy your time, enjoy your stories and everything. And of course, we all need to know who you are because you cover our team, and we need to basically depend on you for all of our news and all of our sports updates. So where are you originally from?
So yeah, no, I appreciate that. Definitely subscribe to Louisville Courier Journal if you're not already, for those listening. I am from Moreno Valley, California. That is about an hour away from kind of the Palm Springs, kind of Inland Empire. Ironically, so I'm not too far from where Ron English is from in Pomona. I used to go to church out in Pomona. So kind of more like Southern California. I always say between LA and San Diego, but it's more, the better example would be closer to like Palm Springs out in the desert. So it takes us maybe like 4 or 5 hours to get to Vegas, if that's any kind of reference
Shout out
point.
to the humble brag there. Yeah, we're about 2 hours from Indianapolis, an hour and a half from Cincinnati. I know it's not really exciting, but
people know Louisville. People know Louisville well enough. Not a lot of people know Moreno Valley. They know it now because Kiana Smith actually was from there, and then Kawhi Leonard is from there. So we try and do a little something.
Yeah, I try to take a trip out to Cali at least once a year. I love San Diego. That's my home away from home. I love San Diego. Something about just getting out of that airport and that air hitting you. LA, I do love LA, but so got to keep your head on the swivel at all times and know who you're rolling with. So I got a homie up in LA. And I'm like, hey, can you be my chaperone for these few hours I'm up here? Because I ain't trying to end up in the wrong. Me and my wife, we ended up in the wrong part of town to use the bathroom. We were taking the 10 freeway and ended up in East LA. Ooh. And I went to a Burger King, and it was like an act of Congress to get me to use the bathroom. So I was just like, I probably shouldn't have got the expressway here. Probably should just roll up. He lives in Eastville, he lived in Eastville. Okay. So we were just trying to get there. But
that's not too far from me then. That's not too far. Riverside County.
Yeah, I know about Cali, man. So I know, we'll get into this, but I know it's a culture shock when you have to leave Southern Cali to come out to, to where you've been to Minnesota, you've been to Texas, now you're in Kentucky, you've been to South Carolina. So let's start from the very beginning when you were growing up. Did you play any sports growing up?
I did. So I was, in my mind, I was like Allen Iverson. That was my everything. So I played basketball, and that was it. That was the only sport I ever really wanted. Well, I did want to play football, but my dad wouldn't let me. But I played basketball, elementary school, a year in middle school, and then actually I stopped playing basketball and decided to focus on my studies because I was going to be a doctor.
Okay.
Yeah, we see how well that
all over the podcast. I wanted to be a dinosaur when I was growing up. I mean, damn. Okay, okay.
Not a dinosaur.
I mean, I want to be I want to be Batman when I was growing up. All right. Well, some people just have bigger goals. So who got you into sports? Was it your dad, or
it was? Well, technically, it was Allen Iverson. Because I thought basketball was kind of boring, and I remember one day I think my dad had a game on. I saw him, and I was like, oh, all right, that's what basketball's about. Let's check it out. And so
down to Bubba Chuck.
Right. Absolutely. And I just, I watched his game. I studied him. Like everything I did when I played when I was little, like wanted to be like him, like crossover. I remember, so naturally kind of, and maybe we'll get into this, but obviously there's not a lot of women in sports in general. So when my sister and I played basketball, we were like, us and this other girl were the only girls on the team with a bunch of guys. So naturally we played against, majority guys, and there's only like one other girl in our city league. And so the thing is too, I always played older because my sister's 2 years older than me, and my mom wanted us to play on the same team. So not only was I playing with boys, I was playing with boys that are like 2-3 years older than me. So I remember I was always a point guard, and I saw Allen Iverson do, so I tried to cross somebody up, and I did it. And it was just like, you heard, I was like, oh, and like I
Oh.
felt real good about myself. And so, I was not a shooter. I was just strictly like, I was like a true point guard, like pass it off, set the offense up, that sort of thing. But, so yeah, it was basketball. And then my seventh grade year, I played with all girls. And that was a little different. It was crazy as me and my, like, what was I then? Like 5 feet, 5'1", was always in foul trouble. So I just play a little different.
So you got there hacking then, huh?
I mean, the elbow got me most of the time. Just had to keep it in. But no, so yeah, just basketball, honestly. Now my older sister, she played like softball, and was kind of training for track at one point, but basketball was always it for me.
Okay. Did your parents, were they involved in sports as well? Did they play basketball or anything?
They were. My dad played football, basketball, baseball. My mom played basketball in high school. None of them, went, collegiately and did anything. But yeah, my mom was a dancer, actually. She danced her whole life and danced in college. And then my dad actually is a Marine. So, and I think he played in like they have the leagues in the army or the military and stuff like that. So he played in those. But yeah, that's kind of our sports background.
Gotcha. Now you said that you were an Iverson fan growing up. Did you have the braids and the sleeve on, and were you doing that kind of stuff, or were you crossing up all the guys at the park? just the fall all over the place.
Right, just the crossover. I mean, technically, I'm a Black girl, so like, of course, I wore braids. It wasn't really so much about him. It's just that was what my mom put in my head,
Yes, ma'am.
But no, like. It was deep. I remember, so being from California, the 2001 NBA Finals was not good for me, because my uncle was a huge Lakers fan, and so here I am in the third grade. I'm sorry, because I went to fourth grade in 2001. Third grade, I'm sitting there like, standing for the 76ers. That's when we had Mutombo and Eric Snow and what's his name? Keith Van Horn.
Yes, I want to say he was on there. I know Larry Brown was the coach. That's all I know. I remember Larry Brown was the coach.
Absolutely. So I just remember I was like, let's get this chip. We got to beat the Lakers to do it. Couldn't stand Kobe. Couldn't stand well, I didn't mind Shaq, but like I couldn't stand Derek Fisher. Could not stand Brian Shaw. Like none of them. And my uncle, see, here's the thing, you have to have tough skin to be in my family. So my uncle spared like my feelings none. And it's just funny. He's like this like 6'2", 300-pound grown man, like taunting this like 3-foot third grader. And I'm just like, nah, we're going to get it. We're going to get it. I remember Allen went off on that one game and just like went crazy. And like, it's funny looking back now because I didn't realize the series was 4-1. I thought it was a lot closer than that. And it kind of hurts my feelings that it wasn't. And I kind of wish I had that like childhood dream that it was like a 3-2 series.
Right.
But yeah, I don't even know what we're talking about. But that's one of those like childhood traumas of like being taunted because you have love for someone who is not regionally favored.
Yeah.
But yeah, I grew up with a bunch of Lakers fans. I don't like the Lakers. So that was always interesting.
I remember when the Bulls played the Supersonics, I think it was in 96, and I was telling my stepdad, I was like, hey, I'm going for like Gary Payton and Sean Kemp. I just wanted Sean Kemp and Gary Payton to get a ring. And he was like, have you not heard of Jordan? And I was just like, I know who Jordan is, but I just want these guys to win.
Right.
And they made me feel like I was an idiot for wanting the other team to win because I feel like Jordan always won. Now he's my GOAT. He's always going to be my GOAT. But
you just want to be fair.
The feeling. I just want to, when Iverson crossed Tyronn Lue and he did the step over, the infamous step over, I think the whole nation wanted Philly to win, but it just didn't happen. But.
So funny story. A couple Christmases ago, and is this going to be put on YouTube? Or is this for audio?
We can.
Okay, because I want to show you something.
Okay.
Let me see, where is it? If you can, hold on. My sister got this for me a couple Christmases ago.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So that's in my house. That was probably one of the biggest surprises of my life when I opened that gift and she got me that. And it's, It's traveled with me.
I'm jealous. I'm
Man, when I
like
tell you,
I have a good friend who's a big Iverson fan, and he would love that. So you probably want to watch it back, and we might have to blur that out. But no, I'm jealous. Like for real, we grew up in that era to where Iverson changed everything about sports with the tattoos, with the hair, everything. So we give him a lot of credit. He's another one of our goats. So I understand why you idolized him growing up. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that at all.
Yeah,
He's still
and that's right. And that's the thing I don't think he gets enough credit for. I mean, he'll say it, but like he not only changed basketball from being this little feisty guard that was, backing down to no one, crossing over Jordan, to just embracing who he was and like changing the culture. Like they didn't see people that looked like him in the league. You wore your suits or you did this, you had, like your short haircuts, and that's fine. But the fact of the matter is you pulled a lot of these guys out from backgrounds that resembled more of Allen Iverson's and asked them to assimilate as opposed to just, being who they were. And Allen was like, bump that. I think that was around the same time as like Michael Vick too.
Exactly.
And so
that was
all of
the early 2000s was a great era. That was a great era for like
the clothes didn't fit, but like
not at all. And I'm pretty sure you've seen the meme to where everybody had the Iverson shorts or whatever, like those huge shorts from like 2000, 2003. It was just like, what were we doing back then? Back then that was the style, but now it's just like, what the hell was we doing growing up?
Right. Yeah, I get right. But no, he changed everything.
Yeah, he did. And I'm glad he continues to, inspire the youth and inspire people who still play basketball and just loved his game. Yeah. So in high school, what high school did you go in Moreno Valley? What high school did you attend? Excuse me.
I am a Valley View Eagle.
Valley View Eagle. Okay. So I know you said, did you want to like continue your collegiate career, like continue playing sports in college? How did you transition into journalism? I guess is my question.
Yeah. So that's a funny story. So like I said, I wanted to be a doctor. I kind of went back and forth with what kind of specialties I wanted to do. I love babies. So I was like, I'm gonna be an OBG. And then I started looking into like what more that meant. And I was like,
I'm good.
I don't know if I want to. Yeah, okay. This I'm gonna keep it PG, but I was like, I don't think that's what I want to look at all day.
I got you.
Yeah. So then I was kind of like thinking about different things, and so I had an aunt who had hydrocephalus, and unfortunately I never got to meet her because she passed. And so I was like, I'm gonna be a pediatric neurologist, because I remember my mom talking about what it was like for her to go to the neurologist, and it wasn't very kid friendly. So I was like, I'm gonna do that. So even before I got to college, though, I kind of was like teetering on whether or not I wanted to be a doctor, but I'm a very like headstrong person. So if I said I wanted to be a doctor when I was 2, like that's just what I'm gonna do. Unfortunately, that was a very expensive lesson, because college does not care about what you want to do at 2. It's what's gonna work now. So
not at all.
You know what I mean? So I think what did I get? I think I got like a C or D my first year in chemistry. And then I took biology and I like failed every single test, which is crazy because I spent the whole weekend studying with my friends and they were getting A's and B's and I was not. So I'm like, I'm expending energy. I'm not doing anything fun. And I'm still getting bad grades. Like the math is not mathing. So I just, to be quite honest, I had a time where I had like literal breakdowns. Like my parents literally had to call me and would pray and just like try to get me together. And quite honestly, it got to a point where I was like, I can't keep doing this to myself. Right. So I just kind of like shut everything off, turned my phone off, and I just like prayed about it and really kind of sought God as to what I'm supposed to do. Again, whenever I was kind of in those modes, I always would go back to Allen Iverson highlights, and that would kind of be like my coping mechanism. And so in addition to that, my mom always fostered us to write. Like we would write in journals, composition notebooks, different things like that. So I love to write. Like I had all kind of journals growing up. So I was like, okay, well, maybe I can combine the two and do something with sports journalism. So Baylor at the time, the journalism department wasn't great, honestly. And it wasn't that big. So I went over and talked to an academic advisor, and everything he was saying to me about journalism was just like, the wheels were spinning. I started feeling inspired. Like I kind of got that little bit of heat in me. And so he was like, just from the look on your face, it sounds like this is something that you would like to do. And I was like, yeah. So I had a biology test coming up. I think it was that Friday. So I took the test and I prayed about it. And I said, God, if I fail this test, I know I'm supposed to switch careers, switch majors. But if I pass, I'm just going to have to thug it out, basically. When I tell you that was the best F I ever got in my life.
Let's go.
It was the best F I ever got in my life. Because I walked out that class. I was like, never coming back here again.
Bombed it.
Right. So I switched my major. And I'm telling you, God's timing was so perfect that like I got in to where I could drop the class without having any kind of like, marks on my my transcript. Right. So I dropped the class, dropped the lab, had the easiest semester ever because I was only taking like, I think 13 hours because I had to drop those 2 classes. So it was I needed that break to kind of decompress from like shifting and pivoting careers. Well, I guess technically not careers, but pivoting my dream. And just kind of getting ready for that next stage of my life. So after that, I mean, everything just kind of really fell into place with internships and meeting different people that allowed me different internships, then meeting people that allowed me more internships, and just getting to the point where I am now where, I graduated, I started out general assignment news. So I wasn't doing sports right away.
Right.
And I think that's really helpful. And I think everybody should do general news at least one point in their lives because it really helps you understand things like because there's so much that happens within the realm of sports that's not just playing a game. Right. We see that with Alabama men's basketball and a lot of different Baylor 23 years ago. So you know what I mean, so having that news background really helped me. And then like you said, I covered high school sports for about 6 or 7 years. And then Clemson was my first full-time college beat. And then now coming here. So it's been a journey. Okay.
Well, let me ask you this real quick. What's for our listeners who will hear this, what's general assignment news for those people who may not know what that is?
Yeah. So general assignment news is basically anything non-sports related. So in my case, when I was out working in Yucca Valley, which is Palm Springs area, Palm Springs is a high desert, Palm Springs is a low desert. I was working in the high desert in Yucca Valley, Joshua Tree, 29 Palms, that area. So what that looked like for me was, I covered a lot of missing people because for some reason, a lot of people were missing in the desert. One of the big things was Erin Corwin. She was married to a Marine and was having an affair with another Marine, and that Marine killed her. And so there was a manhunt. Yeah, my first job out of college, I'm covering like a missing woman who ends up getting killed by her lover, and she was pregnant with the lover's baby. Yeah,
it sounds like an episode of ID or what's that? Like Snaps
anything, or something. True crime, exactly.
Yeah, true crime, definitely. I'm intrigued.
So
I'm over here.
Right.
Keep going.
Yeah. So the funny thing about that is like one of my fun facts is like calling an Alaskan jail, because the killer, he's now convicted, so I can legally say that. The killer was from Alaska, so he kind of fled, and so they detained him in Alaska. So I had to call the Alaskan jail to check on him. But just stuff like that. But then also, fun stuff like festivals. Obviously, there's a lot of that here in Louisville. Joshua Tree had a festival, so I went and covered like an Italian band and got one of their CDs. The art scene was also really big, so I would go out and, I covered a man who did like a drum circle and learned about like different art forms and different things like that, or, hospitals, like covering what happens in hospitals, or if a hospital has new technology and what that means for patients or different things like that. So literally general in every sense of the word.
Okay. All right. Thanks for explaining that. I'm still intrigued because I watch a lot of First 48 and true crime drama and whodunit. So
listen, I'll send you the story because it was, like I said, it made national news.
Please do. Yeah, I would love to read that and be like, I interview her. I'm gonna embellish. She found the missing lady. I'm gonna embellish it all. But
well, you know what? If you want to say anything, I think it was like the week after, within a week of me starting the job, they did find her.
See,
and it had been like a month. So,
see, telling you. I mean, I'm not saying that you did it, but I'm just saying.
I was gonna say I don't want to take too much credit because a lady lost her life, but it was weird.
Well, you didn't have any hand in that,
right?
Hopefully,
no.
I'm making sure. It's a lot of desert land in Cali, and you know the area well. So I don't know. Just trying to make sure.
No.
The views of Alexis Cubit do not reflect the views of the Ville.
Right.
I was going to ask you this question. So I know you went to Baylor. And I'm assuming that was your first time leaving the state of California.
It was
to do that. But what made you choose Baylor? Like, why not UCLA or USC or Cal Poly or something like that?
Yeah,
not Cal Poly, but Cal Berkeley. Excuse me.
Right. That's funny. That's where my uncle went actually. But it was the medical program. Baylor has a really, really good medical program. And they have a thing where you can basically be automatically admitted into medical school if you make, I think it's like a certain grade point average, obviously, and that sort of thing, if you went to Baylor. So that was basically it. And then the other reason why I actually applied to Baylor, because I also applied to Rice and the University of Houston, is because of UGK, actually.
Hold on. No. We ain't gonna. I
have a very interesting way of making life choices.
Let's put it in reverse.
Okay.
Let's put it in reverse. What you know about Port Arthur, Texas? What you know about Chad Butler?
Listen.
What you know about Chad Butler?
Listen, R.I.P. Pimp C. Okay.
Poor Mo, man. I didn't expect that from you. I chose Texas because of UGK.
I'm suburban. Full disclosure, like I am very much Southern California suburban. We literally had a white picket fence and a dog in the back. Like, so to me, I heard it was, so they had sampled Jodeci's "Cry for You" on a song "You're Everything," and it was UGK, 8Ball, MJG, right. David Banner. You know what I'm talking about. So I heard that song and I was like, oh my gosh, this is exciting. I like these accents. And I was like, well, let me see what Texas is talking about. So I was like, I'm going to apply for, universities in Texas. And I think, Texas outside of California, because I did apply for some schools in California. I did not get into USC and I don't hold the grudge, but I am a UCLA fan now. And Shade. I was like, just a little bit. So I was like, let me apply for some schools in Texas. So I applied to Rice and I didn't get into Rice. And I applied to Houston. Well, Houston has a thing where if you're in the top 10% of your class, like you automatically get in. So I automatically got in. And that was a humble flex. So I got in automatically.
You've been dunking on me the whole podcast. I ain't shit. So go ahead. I'm listening.
So I got into Houston and I got into Baylor. And then funny story about how I actually truly chose Baylor is because the women's basketball team beat Duke, and I believe it was a Sweet 16 my senior year of high school. And I said if they won, I'd go to Baylor.
Okay.
So that's how that kind of worked out.
Was that the Brittany Griner years or?
Yes, that was Brittany's freshman year, and then I was the rest of her time there.
Okay. Were you there when Art Browse was the head coach of the football team?
We don't talk about that.
All right, that's all I need to know.
But yes, RG3 won. I'll say Robert. We can talk about Robert.
Okay.
Robert won the Heisman my sophomore year. So my senior year is when we won our first Big 12 championship. I was on the sidelines for that because I was interning with a publication that basically does newsletters for donors, athletic scholarship donors. And so we were on the sidelines for that. The 40-0 women's basketball season, I believe it's like one of only two. I think UConn had the one after us. We were the first ones to do that, men or women. That was my, sophomore year. Yeah, sophomore year. We had that. So that's what I'm talking about, God's timing. Like all of these things happened after I switched to sports and it allowed me some really cool experiences. I never covered that 40-0 team nor Robert's Heisman winning season, but it just kind of confirmed for me the switch. So Yeah, we were there. I was there during a really, really good time, and then we found out later that it wasn't so great. So that was fun.
As a Louisville fan, we know that feeling about exciting times,
Yeah,
and we're
kind of
still
being marred
rebuilding.
by.
Yeah.
Right. So thankfully we
Yeah.
had, Matt Rule, who came in and turned things around quickly. And then Dave Aranda got us to the Sugar Bowl last year. We lost a lot on defense. So that's what I'm claiming this year for, because it was a mess.
Okay.
But we'll be all right. We'll be all right.
I've been saying that about Louisville basketball and football for the past almost 10 years. We'll find our way back. We in and out of rehab, but our grandma still loves us. She still opens the door at Thanksgiving time, and I just want Louisville to be okay. I just want them to be okay, Alexis. That's all. I just want them to get better. Have you ever seen the 5 Heartbeats?
I haven't, but I know what you're talking about.
I just want to be in the church and let Louisville walk in, and I just stand up like clapping because they finally got off the damn pipe.
I know
I just
exactly
want to see
what you're talking about.
I just want to have my revelation moment, but yeah, that was a wild time. It was an exciting time for Baylor, and I remember RG3's highlights and all that. And I love him because he gives Lamar Jackson his props because they both were in Baltimore at the same time, along with another Heisman. And I cannot remember his name right now. It was 3 on the same team, but let's go ahead and move on. I wanted to ask you. I know that you had went to Texas and you were in Minnesota, then you were at Clemson. What ultimately brought you to the city of Louisville?
The job. So it's funny how the job actually works out, which, unsolicited advice, but networking is crucial. So Raina Kemp actually was a sports editor here a year ago. And so she had been following me on Twitter for a little bit. And I followed her back because I'm like, we're Black women in this industry. Like, we got to support one another. Yeah, love her. Absolutely. And she's getting married in September. I will be front row and present for that.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm so excited for her. Her fiance is awesome, but that's a whole different thing. So anyway, Raina and I connected on Twitter. And so when Hayes Gardner left, she reached out to me about the enterprise job. And I was like, nah, I don't know if I really want to do something like that. Like, I really want to be a beat writer because I really want to get good at that, because that was one of my things. Like, I wanted to cover an NBA team. So she was like, all right, I understand, but if anything opens back up, like, is it cool if I reach out? And I was like, yeah, sure. So that was Cameron, his job. And so when he, decided to switch, and they kind of, did all the things to get that done, she reached out, and I was like, football, women's basketball, and baseball. That sounds like a triple crown in Louisville to me.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, when you consider just historically successful. So I was like, I want the job. And things didn't necessarily work out the way I had expected on my last job. And so and I had come to Louisville actually when Clemson played in 2021 now. To be fair, I want to say this, and I want to be on record when I say it, because I said it even when I was covering Clemson. Louisville technically should have won that game, and they would have won if Malik didn't get hurt. I know that's frustrating.
My PTSD is triggered by we've had Clemson beat 3 times, and they beat us within the 3-yard line each time. James Quick ran out of bounds one year. Another year, we got a big pass, and he got caught at the 2, and we couldn't. Then that year with Malik, we were at the 2-yard line with 4 chances, and we could not get the ball in. Gut wrenching. So, I guess you got at least you got to meet at DePaul, right? Did you meet at DePaul while you were down there at Clemson?
I didn't actually. I didn't. No, I didn't.
You didn't never meet it after every game? They just celebrate DePaul. You didn't get to jump out there?
Oh, DePaul. I thought you said DePaul. I was like,
we don't mention that. We don't mention that school on this podcast.
Okay,
we don't mention that school down the road on this podcast either. So just fair warning. But go ahead.
Yeah, no, but yes, DePaul is a thing, and everybody loves to kind of make fun of it, and so it's just kind of, it is what it is. But yeah, they have a lot of tradition at Clemson. I will say that, like, whether it's running down the hill, DePaul, like, they're just everything. So that was kind of cool, just having that history and tradition and stuff like that. But yeah, no, coming up here, that was my favorite road trip in 2021. And so it's just kind of ironic how that happened. And then I was able to meet Cam because I was helping one of my coworkers who covered South Carolina women's basketball last year. in the Final Four, and I met Cam and I was able to talk to him about the job. So just little things that was literally like, okay, girl, you're going to be in Louisville soon, that I just, you don't think about. And that just, again, God's timing and working things out to where, like, if I would pay attention, I would have had it known, but hindsight's 2020, and I'm just happy to be here. I love Louisville. It's a great city. And yes, I hope to stick around a little while.
I hope you do too, but I'm fairly sure that I'll be getting that Twitter notification saying my time here was great. I'm taking. So when I'm seeing you on ESPN and you're coming, like, you're going to do big things because you already did big things. So I'm telling you, it's going to happen.
That.
Yeah, no problem. No problem. So here's my next question. What was your welcome to Louisville moment? Most people say their allergies are going ape shit. They may say it was cold one minute and it's hot the next. You may have got some Indies. You may have had your first time at White Castles. I don't know. What was your welcome to Louisville moment here in the city? Like, you were just like, oh, I'm in Louisville now. Did somebody offer you some bourbon or?
Let me think. I haven't really thought about that too much. What was my welcome to Louisville moment? Probably the reaction I got when I said I don't like bourbon. That's
always.
Well,
this has been a great show. We had a great time with Alexis. Alexis, where can we find you at? Because we got to cut this.
That's what I'm saying. Like, everybody has that reaction, just like, sis, what? Like, what are you doing here? And I'm just like, right. I mean, I can't do dark liquor to that extent. It's got to be like heavily mixed with something else, because the way that Angel's Envy hit, like,
yeah, oof. well, yeah, that'll do it. I don't like bourbon. Wow, I'm not a big drinker, but that's a religion here is bourbon, basketball, and betting. Now that we got betting finally legalized, those shirts are coming out pretty soon. But bourbon, basketball, and betting is the three B's. I
want to add wings. I want to add wings to there, because I feel like everywhere. Well, that's the thing. I feel like everywhere I go, someone has a different version or different kind of like twist on wings. Like, my favorite are groove wings and backdoor wings. But there's also,
yes.
Is that
good?
Backdoor,
the wings at the backdoor bar, unmatched. I mean,
okay. I was like, did I redeem myself a little bit?
We'll see. It's not up to me. It's not. It's up to the
I'm gonna pray on it.
Yeah, God will see you through.
Right. He knows my heart.
Right.
But no, I feel like everywhere I go, there's always been like, wings seem to be a really big thing here. So I feel like we need to get the wings message out there more. Like, bourbon, yes, but you have to kind of eat something with it. So I feel like bourbon and wings are like a thing here.
Yeah, that's a good combination. So have you been to Indies yet? If you say no.
No, I have, but I don't want to get canceled. So we're just gonna keep it moving. I'll try again though. I'm gonna try again.
You must have went to one that just maybe the grease wasn't fresh.
Maybe that's what we're gonna say. I don't remember which location it was, but I've been meaning to go back and give it a second chance.
The way my heart just crumbled inside my chest.
That's why I was like, I hope you don't ask me about Indies, because you said that and I was like, please don't ask me about Indies, because I don't
eat that shit.
I don't want to get canceled. I mean, I did try it, but the wings were like very little. So
okay. All right. Yeah. All right, let's go ahead and just move on, I guess.
I'll give it a mulligan.
A mulligan. Andy's getting a pass. Okay, what about Mama's? Have they taken you to Mama's yet?
I have been to Mama's. Okay, wait. Okay, I want to say this. I don't really like grilled wings. I don't really like the charness of it, but if I was into that, like, Mama's would be it.
If I was into that.
So to be fair, it's not Mama's, it's me.
Okay. So now we're the scorned lover on the side of the road. It's just, okay, cool.
I need to figure things out. That's all. Some me time.
I'm just glad you said, I had KFC, because that would have really got the show canceled. I mean, I couldn't have do another episode after that. Like, I don't know.
No.
People think we eat KFC. I couldn't tell you the last time I even drove past the KFC, let alone went inside.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, no worries at all on that.
I wouldn't disrespect this podcast by talking about KFC.
I appreciate you. We're only 3 episodes in. Only me and my mama listen to it though, so we good. So we straight. Let me ask you this: since you've been in town here for, I'm saying, roughly about a year, is that right?
Almost. It'll be a year next month.
A year next month.
Mm-hmm.
How many times, or have you been asked what high school you attend in this city? You attended.
Everybody always asks me where I'm from first, so I don't get that. But I have staked loyalties to a high school, but I'm kind of like flip-flopping a little bit just because it depends on who I'm around, and then it depends on like which friend I like that day. So like at first I was like, okay, male is cool because like purple's my favorite color. But then like a lot of my friends went to Manual, so I was like, Manual's cool. And then I met someone who went to Central, and like I one of my good friends. Central. That's it. That's the one.
It.
Okay.
My wife went to Male, and I'm a Central Yellow. Go Jackets, by the way. Go Black and Gold. Shout out to Muhammad Ali. He went to my high school, so humble brag. I got you.
I was gonna say, well, that's all you got to say. But no, and so one of my friends actually was the assistant principal at King Elementary. And so in January, they had a presentation, or like a little assembly, I guess you would call it. And Central brought their band and their dance team, and I was just like, oh, wait a minute, okay,
yeah.
Hey, y'all. It was it. Yeah,
that's what we do. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say I didn't realize it was like a historically Black high school. And so just, knowing the history, or learning, because I'm not going to claim that I know, but learning the history of like the 9th Street divide and, all that kind of stuff, and just like getting more familiar with the historical context of Louisville when it comes to Black people. It's been really interesting, and Central, obviously having that history and kind of knowing some people that went there. It's really cool. So I'm like, I don't know. I'm floating right now. So I like all of the high schools.
Yeah, I'm a legacy Central grad. So my mom, my grandmother, my uncle, my sister, my cousins, everybody went there. So we have a pipeline to Central. I'm pretty sure my nephews go there because I don't have any kids, but it's kind of mandatory that somebody keeps that legacy going in my family. It's not up for debate. But I remember being in high school, and it's like, I never had been to a predominantly Black school because I'm from South Carolina. When I got here, I was like bouncing around from school to school or whatnot. And then I got there, I'm like, wait a minute, all my classmates look like me. And we do. Okay, cool. So yeah, man. I always show love to them. I will always show love to Louisville Central High School. Go Jagged, stink them. Anyway. Where was I at? I'm sorry. I got a little talk about Central. My mind goes elsewhere. I got to get props. You know what I'm saying? That's why I got to rep them hard. It's my game. But what has been your favorite sports moment, either covering Louisville or Baylor or, that team in Minnesota or Clemson, God forbid. But what has been your favorite sports moment so far?
I will have to say, if we're going to go back college-wise, it would be definitely watching us win the Big 12 championship. That 2013 season was really, really special. I don't think people talk about it because the Big 12 has its own connotation with, not playing defense or whatever people say. But it was really special because we went from unranked to like top 5 or 10, our first Big 12 championship ever. And just watching those guys and just the commitment. Bryce Petty was a quarterback. We should tell you how good our team was. We won a Big 12 championship with Bryce as our quarterback and not Robert, which is crazy. But it was just a different feel that year. Honestly, 2 of my favorite players, like I always love good defense. So like Eddie Lackey and Ahmad Dixon were like my favorites, still my favorites to this day. And just the way that defense just like tore everybody up. It was a blackout game. We played Oklahoma. One of our guys, Joe, I can't remember what his name was, but they thought he had targeted against D. Who was D's last name? Anyways, one of Oklahoma's receivers. I think he's like with the Jaguars now. But anyway, sorry.
Very cool.
They thought he had targeted, and the review took like 5-10 minutes. Came back, he could still play. There was no targeting, so we're like, cool. And we beat Oklahoma bad, came out in the second half and did some damage. So just that year was really, really special for me in general. And then this year, watching that Wake Forest game, oh my Lord, like it was just like, what's that one GIF that's like, he's dead already, stop it. It was just
stop, he's already dead.
Right. It was just like, okay, yeah. It was like, all right, you know what, David and Goliath, like Louisville, like, okay, cool. All right, yeah, okay, all right, another turnover, great. A
landslide.
Okay. Another turnover again. Yeah, and it's just like, okay, we're just gonna keep like beating the crap out of this number 10 ranked team. Okay.
Yeah, I will always have hatred for Wake Forest just because I just feel like they have this undeserved sense of accomplishment and everything other than like being the spokespeople for JCPenney. They always look like they're just fresh out of JCPenney. Like fresh out of I have no respect. Catalog. Yeah, everything's just like tucked in when they come up here. They're just so like, it's like they're just going to a golf outing when they come up. And now they're good at football. They try to trash talk. And I'm like, dude, we know we have the receipts. We remember. So no, I'm good. I'm that ass whooping, especially what happened the year before with the clock malfunction down in Winston-Salem. That pissed a lot of Louisville fans, myself included, off. It cost us the game. But last year was sweet. Now we get to see Sam Hartman again with Notre Dame, and hopefully he has a repeat in our stadium. Well, I know everybody says it's L&N, but it's going to be Cardinal Stadium until I say it.
Listen, yeah, if you pay for a ticket, you can call whatever you want.
Exactly, man. That's my money, my choice. There you go.
Right.
So this might be a little. If you don't want to answer it, I understand, but I have to ask. You were there. Was it Sean Oakman or Oakley, the defensive guy?
Yes.
I had no idea until a few weeks ago that he was actually acquitted of what he was accused of. So, any thoughts on that at all, or?
There's a lot of thoughts. Yeah. So that's the unfortunate thing about when things like that happen is that, well, first of all, I want to say it was very disappointing. When all of that stuff started coming out. As a woman who was around the football team, there's a very small population of Black students at Baylor. So all of us kind of interacted, whether you were an athlete or not. So the fact that I was around these people and this was happening was very unsettling. The fact that people were, covering things up, knowing what was wrong, was disgusting. However, I don't know that every single case that came out was true, because there was a situation where a young woman came forward and said that, like, a football player, Devin Chapman, sorry, it's been a while, but his name was Devin, had basically physically abused her, and then it came out that the pictures that she, used as evidence was actually after she had gotten drunk at a party and fell. And so that's where the bruises came from. And it, you don't like that, especially when I knew a girl who was truly being abused, or I knew of a young woman who was truly being abused by a football player, who was my size. Like, she was my size, and I'm like 5'1", and she was skinnier than me, and he was an offensive lineman. So that should give, but she didn't come forward. Like, she never told anybody. I just knew because her roommates didn't have a problem sharing information. So when you think about, the false claims as opposed to the real claims, as opposed to the claims that never even got reported, it was a mess. And not even just football players. There were non-athletes who were found out to have been, basically, there were cover-ups for young women who came forward and said that they were sexually assaulted and the school did nothing. There was one guy in a fraternity, as a matter of fact, who a girl came forward and said that she had been raped by him and they did nothing. They covered that up. So when you talk about top down, it wasn't just athletics. It was not just the football team. The football team just became the scapegoat because nobody cares about, let's be honest, nobody cares about academics to the point where it's going to generate that much, attention, unless it's, like an Ivy League school, because that's what they're known for. But no, it was a top down thing. It was an institutional thing. It was very, very disappointing to know that something like that could be allowed, especially it hadn't been 20 years since a basketball player killed one another. So now we're going from murder to rape. Like, okay, I guess at least the girls get to stay alive, but do they really even want to at that point? Like that's just, sorry, I just have a lot of feelings about that. And it's a
I
really,
understand.
really like crappy situation. It makes me feel a type of way as a woman who attended that university. So there are mixed feelings when it comes to my alma mater. I just paid a lot of money to go there. So I'm gonna have a say in, how I feel, or even, like they want us to, come back and do all these things. Well, I don't mind being an advocate for you, but there are things that you need to get straight. So I think they did right by cleaning house. I think Ken Starr did right by stepping down. And yeah, it was just, it really puts an ugly mark on what should have been a really, really great run by a really good coach. I don't think he should be a head coach right now. I don't think enough time has really passed. But I don't think he should never coach again.
Okay.
I just feel like there needs to be time for you to sit with yourself and really reflect on why. Because my whole thing with Art Browse was, I feel like he was more of an enabler than like someone that you would consider like predatory or whatever. And to me, being an enabler is just as bad, because you're allowing that behavior. Like, you're not getting help for these guys. Like, I think one text message said, he texted Ian McCall, who was the AD at the time, was like, "Oh, why was she around him? He's a bad dude." Sir, he's a bad dude that's on your team. He's a bad dude that you recruited and allowed to play. So when did he become bad? Is what I'm trying to figure out.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's still to this day, like if I see Baylor trending on Twitter, there's a little PTSD there of me being like, oh crap, like what's come out now? Because I feel like for the past, I guess that was in 15 or 14, for like 3 or 4 years after that, it was always something coming out, because they, these things takes time to figure out and kind of do investigation and things like that. So there was always a pit in my stomach when I saw Baylor trending. I'm like, what now? Like who now? But you originally mentioned Sean Oakman. That's a situation where, I mean, like you said, he was acquitted. And I think that was, from what I could tell, I think that was warranted, that situation. Okay. Now, the other ones, like with Sam Uguachu, no. The one that nobody really knows about, Tevin Elliott, who was actually in, I think, 2013, before all this stuff happened, Tevin did that. I feel strongly about that. And Tevin was convicted, I believe. I'll have to go. Let me say, I believe Tevin did that based on evidence that I saw. I don't need no libel suits.
So allegedly. So we're going to say allegedly. Okay.
Right. But I do believe, I have to go back and look, but I do believe Tevin was convicted. And that's a funny thing, because nobody talked about Tevin. Tevin was before all of this came out. Tevin went back to Arkansas and played for a team in Arkansas while he had a case pending in Texas. So, take that for what you will. But yeah, when I look back on those years, I mean, Baylor was great for me. It changed my life. Like, I really feel like I developed into the woman that I am today because of going to there. But there's always going to be that little asterisk by it of just, we had some scandal, and it wasn't, like, oh, money laundering, or like, it wasn't, okay, well, this player was, because I will say this, as far as like paying players under the table, I mean, NIL now, so it's like, okay, whatever, they probably shouldn't be getting paid in, but you're talking about violating another human being. That will never be okay. And there will never be a time where enabling that kind of behavior will be okay, or trying to cover it up will be okay, because you see now it came out. So whatever is done in the dark is always going to come to the light, whether it's 5, 10, 50 years from now, it's going to get found out. So it's better to just be honest. And the funny thing too is, and I can go on about this, but I'm gonna shut up in a minute. Like the people, the players that they were trying to cover up for were not major contributors. Why are you covering up for a third string player? You shouldn't cover up for anybody. But if you want to go by that whole, like, winning by any means or whatever, like, you're covering up for someone who has not even seen the field this season.
We're taking a bullet for a walk-on and shit.
Right. So it's just like, why are we, like, what are we doing here? So that was even more disappointing. But yeah, it's just, we had a lot of conversation about that, just me and, some of my friends that graduated from Baylor and stuff. And, that was a really hard time. finding all that out. But yeah, so
yeah.
Scandal's not
And
great.
I'm listening to you because my PTSD is always triggered when it comes to Louisville. Like, even if it can just be a little something on the bottom line of ESPN, and I'm like, what do we do now? Because from 2015 until, I guess, after Chris Mack finally left, it was something every year. Like, at one point, one of our former players, he orchestrated like a fraud case season. I think he's serving time now for like a healthcare fraud, Terrence Williams or something. He did something like that. And I'm just like, dude, how? But I just remember, like, when the information finally came out about Art Browse, I was so confused as to how that was allowed, and then he was allowed to still work after that. I don't know if he's a head coach now. He may be on someone's staff. He was a coach at either a
Stephenville High School.
Yeah. Okay.
So he went over to Italy. And was a head coach there. And then came back.
Like Italy, the country, Italy?
The country, yep.
They have football over there? Yeah. I had no idea.
He actually took one of the players, and so he did that, and then came back over and coached at Stephenville. And I can't remember, he did resign, but I can't remember where he is now, if anywhere. But and that was a crazy thing, because Art was billed as this, ho-hum Texas guy that just loves football, and he wrote a book, and he did have a tragic life. Like, he went through some stuff growing up. So to see him, be part of this, or at least be complicit in all of this stuff, like, a lot of people were like, no, that's why you still have the Art Browse apologists. We're like, they wore the t-shirts and all that other stuff. Because they couldn't fathom the fact that this person is. But the thing is, like, in this day and age, you really can't put anything by anybody. Okay.
No.
All you know is what people show you. So I'm not saying he's a terrible person, but what he did was terrible, and he should face the consequences and be held accountable for his actions. And I think he is now. I don't know necessarily if I would have had him over high school boys at this point, because that's a lot more impressionable than college boys or young men. But
sometimes winning helps people overlook a lot of things that they normally shouldn't overlook. No, don't get me wrong, Louisville won a lot, and we did win a lot of basketball. We won a championship. Football was great, all that stuff. We had a great run. Not to open it back up again because it's done, but I still to this day would not believe that Rick Pitino sat back and watched that and said, yep, let's do that. Let's go get hookers. Let's go get whores. Let's bring them to the dorm. Let's do all of that because we got to win, because none of those recruits we tried to do that for, we didn't get any of them. And all we got was a missing title. And now we're rebuilding still after everything's just been gutted. I just recently have been able to start watching highlights from that 2013 championship because it's just so painful. That hurt really bad.
Yeah.
That hurt the city really bad. We're still trying to recover from that. But, hopefully your good luck streak of, you seeing all these winning teams in your life, you bring some of that luck to Louisville and we do well or whatever. Pretty sure you might want to lay low. Some people from Indies might want to be looking for you right now. You might want to lay low for a couple of days.
So there's a little caveat. In college, I had some success, but so Clemson's 10-3 season was my very first season there, and then my very first year in West Texas was when Cliff Kingsbury got fired. So,
well, he keeps failing up. So I mean, you're still a good luck charm. He fails up everywhere he goes.
I'll take it. I'll take it.
I've never seen the guy get fired in college and get an NFL job the next year. Like, I'm gonna go ahead. I'll tone it down.
We know what that was. We know what that was.
You get it.
It's fine.
Okay, so I'm glad you corrected me because I really thought you covered Louisville men's basketball, but you said no, you only do women's basketball and football, which is cool. But I was going to ask you about the 4-28 season. Now you don't cover it, but you're around your counterparts who do, and I'm fairly sure you caught some wind of it. So what are your thoughts on that disastrous historically bad season that Louisville basketball just went through? If you have,
I hate it for Kenny, honestly. I think he came in here with a lot of good momentum. I think he came in here with a good idea of what he wanted to do, and it just flopped miserably. It was terrible. Like, the fact that was the worst season they've ever had in the history of the program, like, That's not a great look. And they're also, I mean, let's just be real. He's a Black coach coming into this very Black area as a former player, and you want him to do well. And so there are things that come with that, as it does with any Black coach.
Right.
So that's unfortunate as well. But I just, it's crazy to me because, like, technically, yes, these are still like Chris Max players. Like, Kenny really didn't get much headway as far as recruiting a transfer portal during the offseason. But I mean, from what I heard, it looked like the fundamentals weren't even there sometimes,
No.
which is crazy. Like,
It
crazy.
looked like basically church league basketball. Like, it looked like the participation award league, like, as long as we're trying. My thing with Kenny is that, I get bringing all the former players in. He went and got like a whole bunch of like 3X shirts to wear for the season. He just rotated them in and out the whole year. He gave the same speech after every loss. He had a beach towel on his shoulder the whole time, which was, I don't really understand why he had a huge towel wrapped around his neck, but I just feel bad for him, man. But I just hope it was a fluke. I hope he proves us wrong. I really want him to be successful here, because we only know two coaches, and they were both Hall of Famers. They both won championships. Denny Crum and Rick Pitino. And, Rick's at St. John's now, and Denny's at the crib eating a bologna sandwich or something. I don't know. He's fishing. I don't know. He ain't coming back. But, and if he does, he's likely going to need some assistance. I think he's like 88, 89 now, like Denzel Crum. Did you know his name is Denzel? Denzel Crum? Yeah. Yeah.
Offline. I did not know that, actually.
His name is Denzel, which cracks me up every scene. He's from Cali too, but his name is Denzel Crum.
And I could understand maybe why he went by Denny if he was coaching in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah, I mean, that's an extremely Black name. So I want to know who you grew up with. Like,
right.
who you been rolling with? What set you from out there, Denny? I wonder who Denny, what Denny be banging out there. Denzel Crum. All right, so what's some of the valuable lessons that you have learned in this business, or some of the great advice that someone has given you, if you want to share? And take your time. I know it's like, you get a lot of valuable advice and a lot of lessons being taught, or what to do, what not to do, what to cover, and how to stand firm, because I'm fairly sure that people don't want you to cover some of the things that you covered, especially, well, I know you didn't, well, maybe you did, but especially coming from places like Baylor, to where shut up and just play or whatever, we're going to handle everything else. The hush money out there is crazy. But if you can share with us some of the valuable lessons or some of the great advice you've received over the years, and that you hold on to this day.
I think the biggest thing, or one of the biggest things that I hold on to, someone told me when I was in college, it's a couple of things. One of them is, no matter what, stay true to who you are. Because I feel like so often in any industry, you can get caught up in, well, what gets clicks, or, what's going to get people to read this. And sometimes that bar of integrity or ethics gets lowered because you're just trying to get people to come to your website, or you're doing like sensationalism and things like that. But if that's not who you are, and you're not staying true to who you are, you will get caught up and you will lose yourself. And I never want to do that. And the person who told me, I never really asked them about it, but you know how you can tell when someone gives you advice because there's a backstory, and it's a painful backstory. Right. Like, I could just tell there was something about the way he said it, where he was like, I wish I had known this, when whatever happened. So that's something I've always tried to keep in mind, as far as, because I mean, you try not to compare, but a lot of times you see like, oh, this person's successful and they're doing this, like maybe I should do that. But if that's not what's in me to do, it's not going to work the same anyway. So for me to try to copy someone, that's just not a good idea. Now I can get inspiration from someone and put my own, like whatever on it. But it's just not, I have to be who I am at all times. And if you don't like that, okay. I mean, my check cashes either way. So, and if you do, that's cool too. But I'm not going to allow external factors to change who I am. And so the second piece of advice is more journalism based, as far as try to give people something they can't get anywhere else. because that's what's going to keep us paid, right? Like you want to get that little bit or that little nugget that maybe someone else didn't get. And that's why for me, I pride myself on finding stories, finding features, finding interesting facts about players, coaches, whoever, that are interesting stories, because I feel like so often people look at athletes and it's like, like you said, the shut up and dribble kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But like, you don't realize they're going through a lot. Their mom might have died, or like we talked to Renato a couple of days ago, and he was talking about how, he's gone through some family stuff, and, you don't want to press, especially when you only have a certain amount of time, but like, you just don't know, and what that family issues look like or mean. You just, like I said, you just never know. So I enjoy being able to tell those stories that I feel like no one else can get, in terms of finding out those little facts, like, doing the story on Pete Nocta and his wife, and how, like, when he had cancer, that kind of, brought them closer together. They went from friends to relationship to now married. Or Brooke Braun, like her wish for her 12th birthday was for her family to move to Louisville, and like a month later her dad was announced as a new head football coach. Just different kind of stories like that are what I honestly really love to tell. And I feel like that's heeding that advice of give people something you can't get anywhere else, because I mean everybody does, like on-field stuff, like, they want to break down film, and there is a place for that. Like you absolutely need that, obviously. But I feel like by incorporating those other things, it kind of helps you to get more of a feel of a team, and just quite honestly helps you to get to know the people, and makes you feel close to people, and makes the people feel heard and understood, and like their story gets to be out there, so people have a better idea who they are. So I found that the more familiar you are with someone, the less likely you are to criticize them or to get as enraged by them. So if you understand that, hey, you know what, like, yeah, he missed that tackle, but like his dad's in the hospital right now. Or, yeah, he just threw an interception, but like he just failed his chemistry test, and like he's supposed to be graduating this semester, and that's going to mess him up. Just different things like that. I just think it's important to understand people. So that's what, to me, giving people something they can't reach somewhere else kind of means. And so those are probably the two biggest pieces of advice that I really like to go by for my personal life.
Okay. That's a great answer too. I was really intrigued by this. I was just sitting here listening to you, and I forgot my last question. So, but all right, here we go. So I've already told you this several times on this podcast that this is a high turnover job that you're in, and people do not stay here long. And I want you to be here for many, many years to come, but I know you won't. I know you won't, because you are very good at your job and you're good at what you do. And I see a higher calling for you. So if you're comfortable with sharing it, what is your end game? Like, where do you want to see yourself when it's all said and done? It could be ESPN. It could be working for Fox Sports. It could be working for whoever, Bleacher Report. I don't know. But what is your end game, and what do you want to take this?
It's funny you should ask that. I normally don't reveal my age, but next I turn 30 in 18 days. And so I've been doing a lot of self-reflection and figuring out like what exactly that's going to look like. And so I don't know. And it's a weird thing to say, right? Mm-hmm. Like you're supposed to have everything planned out, because I did at one point. I was like, I'm going to, cover an NBA team, or I'm going to be like a long form writer or something like that. But like, I'm at a place right now where I don't know what I want to do next. I don't really know, how far I want to take it. I don't know what that next step looks like for me. I just know right now I want to be present, and I want to do a really good job where I am, and then allow that to kind of take me into whatever's next. Because the thing is, if you're good enough, people will find you. So,
exactly,
just like with this job, I didn't apply for this job technically. Like Raina sought me out. So just like she, is watching, I'm sure there are other people who are watching. So when that time comes, I'll pray about it. I'll talk to my family about it. And quite honestly, like I want a family one day. I'm just me and my dog. So like you start to think about that, especially as a woman, because women in this society are made to feel like you have to choose between a career and family. And so for me, that is something that realistically you're kind of like, okay, well, what I want to do. So right now I'm just in a space of just kind of like, I'm just gonna go with what life brings me. And if I do happen to cover an NBA team soon, that's cool. If I happen to, do something completely different, that's cool too. Like, but at the end of the day, I just want to do something where I'm connecting with people and I'm able to work with people, connect with people, talk to people, help them feel heard or understood. And if I get to do it in the realm of sports, I mean, hey, that's cool too. So yeah.
That's dope, man. You said something that like I hear all the time, being present. So I try my best to be where my feet are. Like be where your feet are. Cause I'm the shiny red ball guy. Like my attention span is just like, I want to do this. And I'm 5-10 years down the road instead of enjoying the moment. But I really hope that it works out for you. And it will, because you're a dope person, you're a dope beat writer, and you're very well traveled. You might want to figure out some protection. I don't know, because you're this indies in the city of Louisville. They don't really, and you're this bourbon a little bit, but I think they'll understand. If the winning cure is also Louisville wins, they'll forget about it. Yeah. But Alexis, where can we find you at on social media? Like if we want to get in contact with you.
So Twitter is kind of where I do most of my professional stuff. So it's Alexis_Cubit, ALEXIS_CUBIT. And I do open my DMs sometimes. Some a little weird, so I don't. But for the most part, if I see like it's a if it's somebody who's like legit, I like to connect with people, like I said, and talk to Louisville fans to get idea. And honestly, like y'all teach me so much, just because I'm new here. So I love learning the history, and like especially with this coaching staff, learned a lot about Chris Barkley and the Brahms. So just love to connect, love to hear stories of when you were 5 years old and your dad took you to your first game, or when your sister's I don't know, whatever it may be. I love connecting with people and look forward to hearing from positive Louisville fans.
Yeah, y'all, please do not. She just doesn't know. She about to turn 30. Happy birthday, by the way. Happy early birthday to your dirty 30s coming up. You got to find a drink, because if it ain't gonna be bourbon, it needs to be something for that dirty 30. We ain't taking shots of no damn MD 2020 or whatever you know. We ain't doing that. We ain't doing that. But I really appreciate you coming on. Thank you for answering the DM. I was a little nervous. Like she might be like, well, I don't know him. I ain't answering no questions. I got a deadline, but I thank you for doing that. And I hope you be safe. And I appreciate you having you on. Alexis Cubit, everyone.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
No problem at all. We'll see you around. Take care.
All right. You too.
Bye. That was Alexis Cubit, Louisville football and Louisville women's basketball beat writer for the Courier Journal. You can give her a shout out or whatever on Twitter, man. She does great work, covers your team, and she until she leaves, she's going to be a Cardinal. We're going to make her an impromptu Cardinal. So that's what it is. I really fear for her safety the next few days, because that Indies comment, that's she called them small. I mean, yeah, we like the peg legs. We like the flats. We understand. I wonder what location she went to. Where y'all think she went to, where the food wasn't that great? I don't want to shit on none of the Indies locations, but there are a few. Maybe she was on Cane Run. Maybe one of her ratchet friends took her to Cane Run, that location. If it's still open, I can't remember. It definitely wasn't 3rd Street, because 3rd Street don't do that kind of shit. 3rd Street got fresh grease. The food is out. 3rd Street location is the best location in the city. I said it. A lot of people say Fern Valley. Some people might say Broadway. Nah. 3rd Street Indies is the best Indies in the cities, hands down. No question about it. Looks like the wind has died down here in Louisville, so I'm gonna go ahead and get out of here, man. I appreciate the support. People who have liked this, people who have reached out to me and sent me messages or called, send me DMs or whatnot, man, about the last 2 episodes. This is episode number 3. We're only getting warmed up. Hopefully going to have some more exciting guests frequent this podcast here in a few coming weeks. I'm working on a lot of stuff here on my end and just trying to get the best content out there. One thing she said that really stuck out, excuse me, try not to burp into the mic. One thing she said that really stuck out to me was about having the content that no one else has, and then trying to stand out on your own, and trying to do the best thing you can as far as taking care of what needs to be taken care of and getting an audience and building a brand. It's not as easy as folks think it is, but man, just being myself and being who the fuck I am and people rocking with that means a lot to me. I just don't ever want to have to put on a mask or put on a disguise in order to have some dope conversations with some dope people and talk about the team that we all love. Well, if you listen to the show, you got to love it, but talk about our hometown Cardinals. No matter where we go, no matter what you do, you're always going to have someone that's willing to talk basketball with you, because in this city, that is always a conversation starter in this city. So look, man, y'all be safe. It's April Fool's Day. People are here on that bullshit, doing dumb stuff. Sorry, I'm getting most of my cuss words out now because I had to be respectful. I didn't want to be dropping all kind of F-bombs and stuff and everything. I'm trying to be professional, trying to clean my act up for this episode only. For all the other interviews there, man. So look, y'all take care. This should be available on Spreaker. It will be available on iTunes and also on Spotify. So all the people hit me up like, hey man, I ain't paying for Spotify. Try Spreaker, the Spreaker app, Spreaker, or try iTunes. And I'm not sure if it's on YouTube yet. I got to ask the guys over SOL, ask Jake or whatever, and it may be, but we're going to still working, man. I'm still getting the bugs out, still trying to find my footing. But if you're rocking with me, keep rocking with me, y'all. I appreciate it. Y'all take care. And what happened to peace? Peace.
Fuck you, dog. It's the South, nigga. We gonna